Welcome to Rochambeau, the podcast about unique competitions and the extraordinary competitors that make them happen. I'm Kim.
And I'm Ted. Thanks for joining us. Well, we hope you got to hear our last episode. It was our Christmas in July Spectacular. It was a real treat. We covered the National Gingerbread House competition.
If you missed it, go back and give it a listen. I would recommend that you use Castbox. Rochambeau is supported by Castbox. It's a fantastic app, and it makes it really easy to search for your new favorite podcast.
Yeah, it's really cool and very intuitive, so hey, we encourage you to go give it a try. But now, today's episode, wife carrying.
When they say, saddle up,
We just saddled up.
I bend over, get my head in between her legs. She is behind me.
And her legs are wrapped around his neck. I am upside down.
And both of my hands are actually grabbing a hold of my own thighs.
I am a human backpack. The wife's head is facing the male's butt.
Down around my rear end, so I make sure to not have beans or anything before.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like a professional twister tournament. But alas, this competition, wife carrying, has a little bit of a darker history, at least a darker history than Left Foot Blue.
Right, let's hear it.
All right. The sport of wife carrying came from Finland, and the legend behind it says that a robber named Herkko... Ted, help me out.
Herkko Razvo Rankanian.
That's amazing. So this robber named Herkko, that aside from his regular thieving, he did some wife thieving too. It was said that he and his hooligans would go to different villages and they would steal things, including other people's wives, and then carry them back to their hideout in the forest.
That's terrible. Was this back in like the Middle Ages or something?
No. Sadly, it dates back just a couple of hundred years, but this is the stuff of legends. We're not sure of the accuracy. It's really unclear how much is actually true.
But what we do know is that today, wife carrying is just a sport that's good-hearted fun with 100% willing female participants.
Absolutely. The first modern-day wife carrying event was held in Finland in 1992. This world championship is now held each July in, oh my gosh, help me out, Ted.
You're on your own.
No.
Sankanjarvi.
Wonderful. It's held in Finland.
Finland.
But the North American Championship was started in 1999, and it's held in Maine at a ski resort called Sunday River.
We talked to the events coordinator, Caroline Octera, to find out her take on the history of wife carrying.
Where it came from was back in the tradition in Finland. There was this robber. His name was, I want to say, Rokanian, and he had a band of thieves. I mean, all I could figure out is they stole women. Now, whether it was to act as a heavy sack for training for other, for being able to be thieves is one story I've heard. And the other story I've heard, it was just a bunch of really bad guys that stole other people's women. The truth may lie somewhere in between. Well, my name's Caroline Octera, and I am the events director here at Sunday River Resort in Newry, Maine, where we play host to the North American Wife Carrying Championship. My understanding is what happened is the town of Bethel, which is about 6 miles from the resort itself, started the event. And after a few years, it got too big. So we moved it and we started hosting it at the resort itself. And since then, it's been here and pretty strong. Every year we see about 2,000-3,000 people come to watch it.
That's a lot of people watching a lot of wife thieving.
I agree. We're no strangers to dark Nordic histories, but let's put this dark Nordic history behind us.
Fair enough. So we'll move forward with the fun stuff. The consensual competition that is the sport of modern day wife carrying.
All right, the basic rules are, so it's a man and a woman. No, they don't have to be married. And we had one couple, a media person came up one year and she basically we made an announcement and said anyone who wants to carry this lovely woman through the course, and all of a sudden 5 minutes later she was getting these awkward positions with a guy she just met, And then we've had people that have been married 25, 30 years that have done it, So it's all gamuts, and they can carry their woman, or a man can carry, or a woman can carry a man anyway. They just cannot touch the ground from the time they leave the start of the course to the finish of the course. A lot of people do the Estonian carry, so their wife is upside down on their back. Picture this. So everybody knows what a piggyback is, right?
Right.
You know, you grab their legs and you're kind of going along. That's actually one of the carries you can use, but it's weak. The Estonian carry is picture doing that, but taking your partner, pluck them off their back, and then turn them upside down and put them back on. So now the wife's head is facing the male's butt, and her legs are wrapped around his neck, and he is holding on to her feet, her calves, and she is reaching around his waist. So it's almost like she is like this satchel.
She's like a cape. She's like a wife cape.
Right. It's one way of looking at it. And it's the easiest way to carry. It's the most efficient way to carry because a lot of some men will hold on to their feet. A lot of the women will actually reach around and grab their own like calves to kind of act as his knapsack.
Oh, wow.
And but a lot of men, what they'll do is they'll use their arms to pump. So, you know, when they're running, they're exaggerating that pump. They are going nuts with their arms to try to get momentum because you're going uphill. You got 120 pounds on your back. So it's pretty fun to watch.
Wow, that is a crazy carry. I'm not quite sure I understand that.
It's a wife cape.
That really clears it up.
Thank you. Back to Caroline.
So the course itself we had 2 hurdles. We had one water obstacle. So it was like a big mud puddle, but it was for the guys, it was about waist deep. And we had, at the end, it was just a big pile of sand that they had to navigate over before they went through the finish. And if they drop their partner, then that's 5 seconds off their time, which honestly, if you drop your partner, you're not going to win anyway.
Right.
You know? Not only you're not going to win, but you just piss someone off you have to live with. So, I mean, that's the basic rules. And at the end of the day, it's the fastest person wins. You know, we start out and it's always 2 couples against each other. And out of the whole field, the fastest 4 couples go into the finals. And the bottom line is the person that's the fastest wins.
That sounds pretty dangerous for the wife.
Yeah, it sounds like you could easily get really hurt.
Maybe that's why they call them hurdles.
Oh, Ted.
Oh, Kim. Sorry. Okay, I'll make it up to you. You're going to like this. Guess what else they have at the event?
What's that?
Fancy dress.
Remind me what fancy dress is?
Fancy dress is fancy talk for costumes.
There's some couples that like to just dress up, and they may be like an Oreo, or they may be Grover, or Batman. I mean, yes, there's people that absolutely love the dress-up piece of it. And there's one couple, they come every year. He's like 6'5", and she is probably, 5'9" tall, right? And they don't do the Estonian carry. They do on the shoulders. So, like, you know, you put someone up on your shoulders. So to see them going across
like
the
a
course.
chicken fight.
Yeah. And they look like they're 15 feet tall, 16 feet tall. You know what I mean? Like, they're going around this course, and all you see, her head is bopping along because she's so tall. They have to duck to come through the finish.
Wow. Have they ever placed?
No, hell no. They're so slow. But it doesn't matter because everyone remembers them. You have some people that are super serious about it, but we also have folks that come every year and use it as a sort of a growing experience for the relationship. You know, I have one couple that comes year after year. I think they've done it for 8 or 9 straight years. And every time they come, it's like, God, if I drop her, it's going to be a divorce. But if I don't, it's going to be the best night of my life, you know? And it's like these couples have this growing experience of, like, you know, getting together and doing something that kooky. It's really neat to see. We've had wedding proposals at the finish, probably half a dozen.
Fun.
Yeah, because we always talk about folks, and I'll see people year after year because I work the start of the race, and I'll be like, oh, you're still dating. It's 5 years now. Where's the engagement ring? Hello, you know?
Oh, my gosh. You're like my mother.
I am. I am that woman at the start that's on the mic wondering when they're getting married. It's so awkward for them. It's awesome.
That almost sounds a little bit mean.
It's really good to hear people having fun and not just trying to win.
Exactly. Speaking of, tell them what they've won.
They win their wife's weight in beer, their wife's weight 5 times in cash. And
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of fun. So it's funny because you really want your partner to be light, but you also want to win a lot of beer and a lot of money. So it's kind of a happy balance there. It is growing so fast. Our event, which happens every Columbus Day weekend in October, we have people coming from all over. I mean, Florida, California, Texas, Idaho. So it's pretty wild how people all around flock to this. And now when you hear wife carrying, it's not really a secret as much. People are like, I've heard about that, you know?
That was probably the best kept secret ever because I never heard of wife carrying until very, very recently.
Right. Same here until you mentioned it to me and said, hey, let's do the story.
Exactly. Exactly. But I think that's just us because a lot of people know about it and it's drawing people from all over the country to compete.
Yep. And competitors are traveling from race to race to compete.
Like Elliot and Jenna, they have taken their hobby on the road.
All we travel for.
Yeah. Before last year, it was just Sunday River, which is about 2 hours away. And so then we did World. And this year we're doing Florida, London, Finland, Sunday River, and we'll see what else comes our way.
So maybe 4 this year, and that's a lot for us.
I'm Elliot Story, and my wife Jenna and I are wife-carrying competitors. I think I first heard about it growing up. I think it started in Maine in the late 90s, and there's just always been such a good buzz around it.
I had never heard of it, though.
What was your reaction when you did?
Well, he just said, it's kind of, muddled in my brain, but it was so many years ago. But he said, I want to do this wife-carrying competition. He mentioned it when we first got together, because I think we've been together, 11 years now. And I just kind of brushed it off, kind of ignored him as usual. And then we kept having babies because we have 4 kids now. And after our 3rd child, we thought we were done. And he said, let's do a wife carry. And I said, okay. And then that was 2 weeks before we competed for our first time. So we've kind of practiced, and it was a little bit painful at first. Literally, physically, and funny, painful. But we figured out a few things pretty quickly, and it's been very fun from here on out.
That's just awesome. Did you guys experiment with different types of carrying, or did you go straight for is it the Estonian that's so popular?
The Estonian carry, but we were wrong in our first few times. I basically was giving him the Heimlich maneuver. Yeah. Basically, I am upside down a human backpack, and that confuses people because they have to wrap their brain around the fact that my legs, I am upside down. My thighs are right on the top of Elliot's shoulders, and I have to hold myself in place with my own hands under his arms, and I have to lock into my own inside of my knees. Yeah. Oh, yeah, but I can't give him the death grip around his neck or else he can't breathe.
Right.
So funny. So when he told you about the competition, when you very first heard of it, what was your thought?
Back in the dinosaur years where we really weren't into cell phones that much, so you didn't Google things, and there aren't really good pictures of it back in the past. It's only gained momentum recently. So, yeah, I don't think we looked at pictures,
I don't remember doing it.
I think we just saddled up, and the first thing we did was he took the ottoman in our living room and he did step-ups on it with me on top of him. And we were both exhausted. But for the woman's part, people say, yeah, you just have to sit there. But you just basically sit there and take it, kind of, because your legs are slamming on your guy's shoulders the whole time. And a lot of women show up with padded, we saw one woman pad her thighs with towels and foam, and you can do whatever you need to do to get through.
That's amazing. But I'm still having trouble wrapping my head around that carry.
Like she said, a human backpack. She saddles up.
Oh, that clears it up.
Right? I thought Wife Cape cleared it up. I didn't realize we had to keep working on this.
Yeah, apparently so.
Anyways, Elliot and Jenna have been competing at wife carrying for a while, but Jenna still distinctly remembers the very first time she weighed in.
You get weighed in?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, boy.
The first time we weighed in, because they weigh you in front of everyone, and they weigh in the women, they weigh in the guys, but it's all about what the woman weighs. And we didn't know this, okay, we're coming in blind. Our first time, and I just had our 3rd baby, and, that's a little rough on a woman sometimes, but I'm 5'2", and the 2 weeks before we were going to compete, Elliot looks at me and he says, all right, we're signed up. What do you weigh? And I think I weigh, what did I weigh, 146?
I think
at the time,
upper 140s.
Upper 140s. He looks at me and he says, can you get yourself down to 140 in 2 weeks? And I said, sure, I can take off about 8 to 10 pounds in 2 weeks. But I was like, yeah, sure, I'll do this. So I stepped on the scale and I got so excited when I saw 137. The woman, I was like, eek! I did I was like a little happy dance on the scale. And woman leans over and she goes, "Don't worry, honey, there's a heavyweight category." I turned around and I looked at Elliot and I was like, what the? Like, I was so excited to have lost 10 pounds. And this woman just crushed my dreams.
What is a normal weight for people who are doing this?
Less than 100 pounds.
What?
So I am a proud heifer out there. I outweigh the other competitor wives by 30 to 40 pounds. So I always beg Elliot to carry someone smaller, but he refuses.
That's an amazing story. I'm glad they weren't discouraged by that first weigh-in.
They stuck with it, and it's taken them places. Places like Finland.
Yay, Finland.
Finland was a dream. How often do you get to potentially be a world champion? So it was very exciting. We watched some videos, kind of tried to get some recon of the course, and we planned a whole kind of honeymoon around going. So it was super exciting. It would actually be our first hotel stay with no children. So it was really exciting, and
Finland is beautiful.
Yep.
People were great, very nice.
And it was a little remote.
Yep.
Which was fine for us being from Maine. So we'd get there, and it's like a carnival. It's a really big regional event for them, and worldwide event, obviously. And the world champion is there,
and other champions are there. So that's the cool part at World.
15 or 16 national champions there.
Sweden, where else?
Great Britain,
Australia, everyone. Yep. Everyone shows up for
Germany, Switzerland. Friday, we went up to the course and did some recon. We jumped in their water pit, which is a lot deeper than the one in the U.S. And that night they had a sprint competition, which we chose not to enter to try to save our energy. But we noticed another American couple, the Florida champions, were entering the sprint, but he was struggling with his footwear. And so I said, "Oh, that's too bad. You should have gotten these shoes that I had." And so it turns out his mother is from Finland, and he was actually able to get those shoes
overnight. So this guy comes in and finishes second because Elliot decided to give out some help.
Man, this is like a legit competition.
Indeed, and you have to be in really good shape for it. A lot of these competitors have a pretty solid athletic background.
I kind of thought we'd have a good shot because in college I got into the sport of strongman, like World's Strongest Man type contest.
No fooling.
Yeah, so he's really good friends with Bill Kazmaier, if you know him or have heard of him.
I don't, but I will be Googling him in minutes.
Kazmaier was indisputably the strongest man in the world. The first to win a contest 3 times.
Bill Kazmaier probably was the strongest or is one of the strongest guys ever.
Yeah.
If we weren't on our way to a wife carrying contest, I would be at the Arnold Strongman Classic right now. Most of the events in Strongman take about a minute, and I knew from watching video that the wife carrying takes about a minute. So I said, well, I'm pretty giving it my all for a minute, so I think we could do okay.
And so what about you? Do you have any sort of athletic background?
She says she's not athletic, but she's the most fit woman.
I don't like sports, I guess you should say, as in baseball or football. It just doesn't interest me. I like physical. I like more stuff like this. Yeah, I'm an aerobics instructor, and I have been for 16 years. So I like all-encompassing things.
And so you told me you were 5'2". How tall are you, Elliot?
6'2".
So that's a good, for wife carry, couples, you need to have a good ratio.
Geometry is important.
When we see people that don't match up, we discredit them immediately.
Yeah.
So do you guys both view yourselves as competitive people in general?
Highly.
We were actually playing Words with Friends against each other before you called.
Oh, that's pretty cute. They really are competitive.
Yeah, and their competitive spirit has paid off quite a few times.
Well, I get on this giant seesaw, and then on the other end, they just start stacking up cases of beer. And this year, I put our toddler on it with me. We could get... And then the prize, the cash prize, is 5 times the girl's weight. So it's another reason to weigh a little more.
There was a winner that did get more, but I swear she had rocks in her pockets.
I don't know. Yeah. They had announced when we won that was the largest cash prize. Oh,
So what do your friends think of the fact that you guys do this?
Oh, tremendous support.
They
Everybody
love
loves it.
Yeah.
We always have the biggest crowd at Sunday River.
That's awesome. And is it a festive environment?
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. I'd say about half of the field is there purely for fun, and so a bunch of them will have their costumes, and then the other half is competitive.
Yeah, the competitive people usually show up in uniforms, or like us, we show up in our jerseys, and then there's what's really cool is there's always, never fails, a proposal every year. And 2 years ago, our good friends, they raced, and he sat on her by mistake. They fell in the Widowmaker.
Oh.
Sat on her in the mud pit, and they came through the finish line, a disgusting mess. And then he dropped to a knee and proposed, and then we just went to their wedding, and Elliot was the best man.
Oh, the irony of getting dropped in a Widowmaker and then getting married.
Right? Well, our next couple knows a thing or two about getting dropped in the Widowmaker.
Have dropped me in what they call the Widowmaker, is the mud pit.
Well, it's a nice soft landing for you.
That's not how I remember it.
I'm Greg Goodyew. We try to compete, but we do it for fun.
And I'm Wendy Hollenbeck. Most of the time it's fun. I've gotten dropped twice, and then it wasn't so fun. But we've been doing it since 2008.
Wendy and Greg are seasoned competitors. They've been doing the wife-carrying event for over 10 years, and despite the occasional wife drop, they still love it. And each other.
Indeed. This might be one of those situations that Caroline mentioned, a growing experience for the relationship.
I think so, because they're really good sports about it.
I'm 5'2".
Did she say how old or how tall?
Tall.
Oh, I'm 5'10".
Well, that sounds like a pretty good ratio for what you guys are doing then.
Well, yes, and most of the men are a bit bigger, but I've got what I've got.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry, honey. I'm only 5'10". I'm not 6'2" with 3 trunk legs.
We love doing adventurous things, and this was perfect for us.
We've cycled a lot, we've run a lot, and we swim a lot, and we do triathlons. So, yeah, we're pretty athletic.
I do half Ironman triathlons and a lot of half marathons. So for this particular race, it's a lot more relaxing. It's a lot of fun. It's in October, Columbus Day weekend, so it's actually at the end of our race, our busy race season. So it's kind of more just for fun.
And it gets us in shape for the ski season somehow. I'm not sure how, but...
What do you guys do, if anything, to train?
We don't do anything specifically to train for this. We know a lot of people like get weighted vests and they, but we don't. We just show up and just try to do the best we can.
Although I think our running background and our triathloning helps. I mean, it certainly keeps us in shape and helps with endurance.
Oh, I'm sure. How difficult was it to catch on the very first time? Did you guys experiment with different types of carries?
No, we stuck to the Estonian carry, which everyone but a few people do. One guy carries his wife on his shoulders all the way, and he's like 6'3", and they do it for fun. So most people do Estonian, and that's what we stuck with.
Greg is thin, and I'm flexible. So it actually works quite well because I have a pretty tight grip on him. I can get my arms right around him. So I think it works well for us. I definitely would not want to do any other kind of carry.
She is in front of me when they say, what do they say, Wendy?
They say saddle up.
Saddle up. So she's in front of me. I bend over, get my head in between her legs, and I pick her up. So she is behind me with her legs on my shoulders.
And crossed.
Yeah,
crossed
she
over
crosses
the front
her
of you.
legs, and then she reaches her arms around me and on her legs. So I don't hold on to her at all. My arms are free to, kind of use to run with.
And both of my hands are actually grabbing a hold of my own thighs. So it's kind of a tight squeeze, and it works well for us.
She is down around my rear end, so I make sure to not have beans or anything before.
Men and fart jokes. What the hell?
I don't know, but still hilarious. But I think gastronomic issues are the least of their worries. This course does sound pretty daunting.
It's a horseshoe-shaped course. It goes uphill at first, and every year, I swear, it gets steeper and steeper. And they have one or two, what do they call it, logs to go over. And then they have this mud pit that's about 15 yards long, about waist deep. And it's steep going in, steep coming out. And then at the finish, you run up and over a sand pile to the finish. So it's 375 yards, they say.
And those logs are higher than your waist, Greg.
Yeah.
So those logs are very hard to get over without dropping me. And yeah.
But I've never dropped you over those.
Nope. But you have dropped me in what they call the Widowmaker, is the mud pit.
Well, it's a nice soft landing for you.
That's not how I remember it. But the good news is I popped right back on and we finished.
That's the mud pit. It's 15 yards long, about 10 yards wide, and it's a steep incline going in. Sometimes it's steeper than others, so you have to be careful going in, and it's just sloshing around in this muck.
And also rocks in there.
Yeah, there's rocks and muck and waist-deep water. You get to the other side, and it's kind of a steep incline out, and you just hope she's still there when you get out.
That
Mind
is
you,
intense.
when I go in, I'm head first.
Does your head go underwater?
It has.
No.
But I popped back up. It's just part of the race.
Oh my gosh.
He did not drop me last year.
Reprieve.
So we'll be back. We'll be back in October for our 11th year. Most years there are 50 couples that do this race.
They do two at a time. It really doesn't take that long. It's two at a time, and of course it's a short course, so it's about a minute to 2 minutes of each two competitors going. So
it's short but brutal for me. I guess for him too.
Yeah. So back in the day when people wore costumes more, did you guys ever wear a costume?
We did not.
No, we have never worn costumes.
No, I don't want to fall. So I'd like to grab a hold of the skin, my legs, so I don't like to have really anything over me. Some women have worn, Greg? They've worn wedding dresses. Yeah. They've worn all kinds of costumes.
Wedding dresses and Viking outfits.
Yep.
And
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader. This very unique outfits. Yeah.
It's just a lot of fun. It's a fun day. It seems that for the last 10 years, it's been pretty much sunny, beautiful Columbus Day weekends. It's a fun place to be, and it's a fun day. So I recommend people come as spectators or as competitors.
Vikings and Darth Vader, man. Vikings and Darth Vader. It's all Vikings and Darth Vader these days.
Well, there you have it, people. Wife carrying. Grab your spouse and get ready to saddle up for the 19th annual North American Wife Carrying Championship. It's coming up this Columbus Day weekend.
Which is October 6th, by the way.
Yep, at Sunday River in beautiful Newry, Maine.
Find out more about this event and others at RochambeauPodcast.com. And listeners, thank you. Thanks for being you and listening like you just did. Good job. You are great. And if you like what you hear, please help us out. We're trying to build up our audience, and it's not that you're not enough. We just want more of you.
Yeah, it's not you. It's us.
It's us. It's totally us. So please share this episode on social media. Tell a friend. Text it to your mom. Write it in a letter and send it to grandpa, whatever.
Y'all, that plea comes from the heart. We are loving creating this podcast, but we are lost on how to promote it. So we're counting on you to do that for us. That sounds fair, right?
Right. You're part of our team.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Team Rochambeau.
Yeah, Rochambeau.
So take a second, subscribe to the podcast, tell a friend about it. You'll be our new besties.
We also have to give a big shout out to everyone who so generously shared their time and stories with us. Big thanks to Caroline, Elliot, Jenna, Wendy, and Greg. You guys are amazing.
Great talking to y'all.
Good luck this year, everyone.
All the music that you guys hear on this podcast is courtesy of our friends, Atlanta jazz funk legends Cadillac Jones. They are awesome. We adore them. You can find out more about them on Facebook at CadillacJones.com. And if you ever get a chance to see them live, please don't miss out.
And if you want a free album from Cadillac Jones, we're giving one away.
All you need to do is tell us the craziest carry you could come up with. So we know everyone does the Estonian carry, right? And we know occasionally someone will do piggyback and a chicken fight. What would you do? How would you saddle up?
Keep it clean, people.
If you guys send us suggestions, you might just get a Cadillac Jones album.
All right, next time on Rochambeau, midget wrestling.
No, good Lord, no,
What?
not midget wrestling.
Not midget wrestling?
Digit wrestling.
Digit wrestling?
Digit wrestling.
What the hell is digit wrestling?
Well, you'll have to tune in next time to find out.
All right.
Till next time, people.
Goodbye.
Objection overruled.
Overruled. Where's my gavel? I want my gavel.